If you're shopping for a 2026 SUV right now, here's the uncomfortable truth nobody says out loud. Most good deals aren't good deals at all. They're just cheap monthly payments hiding expensive regrets. And the regret usually shows up in three places you can't unsee once you notice them. The real gas mileage you actually get when you drive like a human, not an EPA test robot, the way the powertrain behaves when you merge or climb a grade with people and cargo on board, and the small everyday annoyances that slowly make you resent your own car. So in this video, I'm not chasing hype, I'm chasing the smartest buys, meaning the SUVs that make the most sense per dollar when you add up efficiency, usable performance, space, tech, and the kind of ownership reality you'll live with for years. I'm going to count down 6 best value picks that are simply hard to argue against in 2026 if your goal is to spend like a strategist, not like someone who gets emotionally sold on a badge. And stay with me, because one of these looks too normal on paper, but it's quietly the most dangerous value in the segment once you understand one specific detail about how it drives and what it costs to live with, and I'll reveal that twist when we reach the top of the list. Number 6 is the 2026 Mazda CX-5, and I know what you're thinking. Why is a driver's SUV on a best value list? Because value is not just the lowest MSRP, it's what you get for your money every single day. And this CX-5 has a way of feeling more expensive than it is while still staying grounded where it matters. For consumption, here's the honest framing. Official 2026 EPA numbers were still not fully published in some spec listings when the redesigned model news hit. So if you're trying to pin it to one exact number, be careful with anyone who pretends it's final. A credible expectation is that it'll land around the high 20s combined, depending on trim, and we have a strong baseline from the prior 2.5-liter non-turbo CX-5 ratings in the upper 20s combined when equipped appropriately, so I treat 26 city and 30 highway and about 28 combined as a realistic approx. Anchor for the non-turbo setup, with real driving swinging based on speed, temperature, tires, and how heavy your right foot is. For the engine, the key change for 2026 is simplicity. The turbo option is gone, and the CX-5 launches with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder rated around 187 horsepower with about 186 lb-ft of torque, paired to a 6-speed automatic, which matters because the power delivery is predictable and smooth rather than peaky, and it feels like a naturally aspirated engine should feel. Linear, responsive enough around town, and not trying to impress you with one dramatic surge that fades. For AWD, Mazda makes this easy because it's standard I-active AWD for 2026, and in practical terms that means you're not buying it for rock crawling, you're buying it for confidence. Wet on ramps, sudden storms, a steep driveway, gravel roads, and that one moment when traction disappears and you want the system to help without you thinking about it. For space, the redesign finally addresses one of the old CX-5's biggest almost problems. It's on a longer wheelbase, which translates into a more usable cabin, and on the numbers side, you're looking at roughly 33.7 cubic feet behind the second row and about 66.5 with the seats down, which is not class-leading, but it's genuinely practical if you pack smart, and it's easy to use because the shape is clean and not weirdly tapered where your bags actually want to sit. For technology, Mazda quietly upgraded the safety story in a way that matters for value buyers. More advanced driver assistance tech becomes standard across trims in the messaging around the 2026 model, so you're not forced into a pricey package just to get the basics, and that's the kind of invisible value that protects you and your resale later. For price, the 2026 CX-5 starts at about $31,885 and runs up to about $40,285 depending on trim, and the reason it earns a spot on this list is that you can buy a lower trim and still feel like you're in something premium, then step up only if you actually care about the luxury extras, not because you're being held hostage for core features. For common complaints, I'm going to keep it grounded. The biggest problems are not catastrophic failures, they're personality traits. Some drivers will call the ride firm compared to softer rivals. Some will wish there were more punch now that the turbo is gone. And some will want finalized official 2026 fuel economy numbers before they commit, because value shoppers hate uncertainty. If those don't bother you, this is the kind of SUV you'll look back on and realize you got more refinement per dollar than you expected. Number 5 is the 2026 Subaru Forester, and the reason it's here is simple. It's one of the cleanest use case value buys in America because it gives you real-world practicality and standard traction confidence without forcing you into an expensive trim ladder just to get the core identity of the vehicle. For consumption, you're looking at EPA estimates around 26 mpg city and 33 mpg highway for most trims. And what I love is that Car and Driver's 75 mph real-world route showed it can still return around 31 mph in sport trim, which is exactly the kind of normal highway driving benchmark buyers should care about because you don't spend your life doing EPA cycles, you spend it cruising at real speeds with real wind resistance. For the engine, the Forester is not trying to be exciting. It uses a 2.5-liter flat-4 paired to a CVT with about 180 horsepower and 178 lb-ft of torque. And the power delivery is best described as steady, adequate, and honest. If you drive aggressively, you'll notice the CVT smoothing things out. But if you drive like most people drive, it's the kind of setup that just does the job day after day. For AWD, this is the Forester's signature. Every Forester comes with standard all-wheel drive, and practically that means you don't have to remember to buy confidence. It's just built into the identity. And if you go for wilderness, you're also getting more off-road focused tuning and ground clearance that makes dirt roads and rougher terrain less stressful. For space, the Forester is quietly one of the most honest SUVs in this size because the cabin is upright and usable. The second row is actually adult-friendly, and the cargo story is excellent. About 30 cubic feet behind the rear seats and up to about 75 with them folded, which is why outdoorsy people swear by it, because it swallows real gear without you playing cargo Tetris every weekend. For technology, the value is in the safety and daily usability. Subaru's whole brand proposition leans on driver assist confidence and visibility, and the Forester's modern interior updates and big screen setup in many trims make it feel current without turning into a complicated gadget that fights you. For price, the range sits around $31,445 to $43,045 depending on trim, and the reason it's a value pick is that the base proposition is already strong, then the trims are more about lifestyle choices like wilderness capability rather than paying extra just to make the car complete. For common complaints, you need to hear this plainly. People don't usually complain that the Forester is bad. They complain that it's not fun, the engine is described as sleepy, the CVT softens performance, and driver engagement is not the point. Also, to be fair and balanced, Subaru has faced legal actions and settlements around issues like windshield cracking and certain driver assist claims on some models and years. Which doesn't mean your 2026 Forester will have those problems, but it's part of the ownership reality conversation value buyers should be aware of. Number 4 is the 2026 Kia Sportage Hybrid, and this is where the list starts getting dangerous because the value equation shifts when you combine hybrid efficiency with a genuinely big-feeling interior and a price that doesn't immediately punch you in the face. For consumption, the Sportage Hybrid's whole pitch is that it can deliver strong mileage for a compact SUV, and the realistic way to think about it is this. If you do a lot of city and mixed driving, hybrid systems shine because they recapture energy and reduce idle waste. But if you live at 75 to 80 miles per hour on the interstate every day, you're going to see mileage drop into a more normal range, and the smartest buyers budget their expectations that way rather than getting emotionally attached to the best-case number. For the engine, Kia's hybrid setup pairs a small turbocharged gas engine with electric assistance for a combined output that lands in the low to mid 200 horsepower range. And what that means in real life is you get immediate fill from the electric motor at low speeds, so it feels more confident leaving lights and merging than you'd expect from its displacement, especially compared to some non-hybrid rivals that need to rev harder to do the same job. For AWD, this is an important value detail. Unlike some hybrids that are hybrid only in one drivetrain, the Sportage Hybrid is offered with different configurations, so you can prioritize max MPG with front-wheel drive, or choose AWD if you need traction in snow, rain, or rougher surfaces, and the practical difference is that AWD adds capability but usually costs you a few MPG and a bit of money, so the best value choice depends on where you live and how you actually drive. For space, this is where it surprises people. The Sportage is one of those compact SUVs that doesn't feel compact in the back seat. So families who are tired of knees in the chest, second rows, often get in one and suddenly stop caring about brand loyalty. And that second row comfort is a form of value, because it's what keeps you from trading the car early out of frustration. For technology, Kia loads these with infotainment and driver assistance in a way that often makes you feel like you're getting a trim level above what you paid for, and that's exactly what value buyers should want, as long as you're the type who likes modern interfaces and you're willing to learn the system instead of expecting it to feel like a 2012 radio. For price, you're looking at an MSRP range roughly from about $31,985 up to about $40,985 depending on trim, and that's the key. You can get into a hybrid compact SUV with a lot of space and equipment without crossing into luxury pricing territory. For common complaints, keep it real. Some drivers dislike how certain touch-based control layouts behave, some want a more engaging steering feel, and some will tell you the cabin and powertrain are optimized for comfort and efficiency rather than fun. But if your goal is value per mile and value per day, those aren't deal breakers, they're trade-offs you consciously accept. Number 3 is the 2026 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid, and I'm putting it here because it's one of the clearest examples of modern value. It gives you hybrid power, standard AWD, a very tech-forward cabin, and a warranty story that reduces financial fear. But there's one important reality check you need to hear before you get hypnotized by the headline numbers. For consumption, the EPA estimates up to about 38 mpg city and 38 mpg highway for the hybrid, which sounds like you're basically stealing fuel from the universe, but then the real-world test reminder hits. On a 75 mpg highway fuel economy route, car and driver saw 28 mpg, which is a huge gap. And it doesn't mean the vehicle is lying, it means high-speed, steady-state driving is where hybrids can lose their advantage compared to mixed driving. So you must match the SUV to your actual commute if you want the value to be real and not just theoretical. For the engine, the Tucson Hybrid uses a turbocharged 1.6-liter four-cylinder plus an electric motor for a combined 231 horsepower and about 258 lb-ft of torque through a 6-speed automatic, and that combination matters because the torque makes it feel lively in everyday driving without forcing the engine to scream, and the 6-speed automatic gives it a more familiar, normal car feel than some hybrid CVTs. For AWD, it's standard here, and practically that means you're not paying extra just to get traction confidence, which is huge for value because the trim you choose can be based on features, not drivetrain necessities, and it also means the vehicle is more versatile for weather and light-off pavement use. For space, it's legitimately usable. Car and driver fit 9 carry-on suitcases behind the second row and 22 with the seats folded. And that's a very practical way to understand the cargo area because it translates into groceries, strollers, airport runs, and weekend gear, not just a cubic foot number nobody can visualize. For technology, Hyundai leans hard into screens and driver assistance. The interior centers around large displays, wireless Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto are standard, and the safety suite includes features like automatic emergency braking and lane keeping, with adaptive cruise available depending on trim, so you're getting a modern experience that feels 2026 the moment you sit in it. For price, the MSRP range runs roughly from about $34,050 up to about $50,150, and the value logic is that you can buy the sweet spot trim with the right comfort and tech without necessarily going all the way to the top. And Hyundai's warranty coverage is one of the strongest in the segment, which reduces the long-term risk side of the equation. For common complaints, you have to be honest. Competitor hybrids are more efficient according to this same review source, and the real-world MPG gap at highway speeds is the kind of thing that creates buyer disappointment if you don't set expectations correctly. So the smartest Tucson hybrid buyers are the ones who drive a lot of city and mixed routes and treat the EPA number as a ceiling, not a promise. Number 2 is the 2026 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, and the reason it's still here, even when people love to say it's overrated, is because the value formula is brutally consistent. Strong efficiency, proven hybrid architecture, resale strength in the real market, and everyday practicality that's hard to replace without spending more. For consumption, a realistic expectation is around the high 30s to about 40 mpg combined depending on drivetrain and trim. with EPA ratings typically landing around 41 mph city and 38 mph highway, and about 40 combined as an approx. Reference point for the hybrid setup, and the important real-world takeaway, is that it tends to reward normal driving with genuinely low fuel bills compared to non-hybrid competitors, especially in mixed and city use. For the engine, the RAV4 hybrid uses a 2.5-liter four-cylinder paired with electric motors for a combined output in the neighborhood of 219 horsepower. And what you feel is not sports car fast, but confident, because the electric side fills in the low-end torque so it steps off the line cleanly and merges without drama. For AWD, Toyota's hybrid approach is one of the most practical for normal people. It can use an electric motor to drive the rear wheels when needed, rather than a traditional mechanical connection in many configurations, and what that means in the real world is you get traction help in slippery conditions without the complexity of a heavy full-time mechanical system, which is exactly what most RAV4 buyers actually need. For space, the RAV4 hybrid stays a benchmark because the cabin is family-friendly without feeling huge outside, the second row works for adults, and the cargo area is the reason it's everywhere. You can do daily life, road trips, and I bought something bigger than expected moments without instantly wishing you bought a larger class of vehicle. For technology, Toyota has kept pushing safety systems into more trims as standard over the years, and the RAV4 hybrid's tech experience is basically do everything you need reliably, with modern driver assists and infotainment that has improved from older generations, which is important because value isn't fancy, it's dependable. For price, you're generally looking at a starting point around the mid-$34,000 range for the hybrid lineup and climbing with trims, and the reason it still pencils out is that resale and demand often compensate for the higher upfront cost compared to some rivals, meaning the long-term cost to own can be more competitive than the window sticker suggests. For common complaints, I'm not going to exaggerate. Many are quality of life issues like road noise, some infotainment quirks, and the simple fact that it's so popular, people expect it to be perfect. Also, like every high-volume vehicle, it can be involved in recalls affecting certain systems or years, so a smart buyer checks VIN-specific history and current recall status instead of assuming any brand is immune. Number 1 is the 2026 Honda CR-V Hybrid, and if you want the cleanest definition of smartest buy today, it's this. It does nearly everything well, it wastes very little, and it avoids most of the weird compromises that show up when companies chase specs for marketing instead of building a great daily vehicle. For consumption, Honda is unusually transparent in the numbers, and the real-world testing backs it up. The EPA rates front-wheel drive models at about 43 mpg city, 36 highway, 40 combined, AWD models around 40 city, 34 highway, 37 combined, and even the Trail Sport is rated at about 35 combined, and then the real-world 75 mph route result for an AWD Sport Touring was 35 mpg, slightly above its EPA highway estimate, which is exactly what you want to see if your life includes real highway speeds. For the engine, the CR-V Hybrid pairs a 2.0-liter four-cylinder with two electric motors for about 204 horsepower, and the way it delivers power is calm and civilized. It's smooth, quiet, and it feels like it was tuned for adults who want their car to behave like a tool, not a toy, while still giving enough punch to merge without stress. For AWD, Honda gives you the choice, and the practical story is better than most people realize. AWD is available and standard on certain trims, and there's an enhanced traction management system for AWD models that works at very low speeds and can split torque more evenly to help you get out of slippery situations, which is exactly where most people actually need AWD, not blasting through dunes, but getting unstuck on a wet incline or crawling through messy weather without drama. For space, this is where the CR-V Hybrid quietly humiliates rivals. It's genuinely roomy for passengers and cargo, with car and driver fitting 11 carry-on suitcases behind the second row and up to 29 with the seats down. And that translates into real life as you stop worrying if the trip will fit, which is value you feel every week, not just once at purchase time. For technology, 2026 updates push value even harder because a 9.0-inch touchscreen with wireless smartphone connectivity and wireless charging becomes standard equipment, and the higher trims add larger driver displays and premium audio, so you can buy the trim that matches your priorities without feeling like the base model is missing the essentials. For price, the MSRP range sits around $37,080 to $44,000, and yes, it's a premium over the non-hybrid CR-V. But the reason it still wins is that you're paying for a powertrain and package that returns that money in reduced fuel burn and strong day-to-day satisfaction, and that combination is what protects you from buyer's remorse depreciation. For common complaints and real-world issues, here's the balanced view. Even this review admits it could use a bit more power, and you're paying a premium over the gas model. Plus, like any high-volume vehicle, there have been safety recalls in the broader CR-V ecosystem that smart buyers should monitor, including steering-related recalls reported in recent years and other recall actions, which doesn't mean the CR-V hybrid is a bad buy. It means you buy it like a pro by checking current recall status and build details before you sign. And now I want you to do something before you scroll or click away. If you had to pick just one of these 6 with your own money for your actual driving, not your fantasy driving, which one are you taking and why? And do you want me to do a follow-up where I expose the 3 fake value SUVs that look like bargains in 2026 but quietly drain you over time?